Hi there everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to crochet up one of these simple little crocheted lanterns. Now I've just used jars that I've had pickles or jams in, so I keep my jars and this is what I do with them. So you can see this fabulous lantern effect here. Now what I will do at the end is I'm going to wait until it's dark and then I'm going to pop some tea lights in here so you get the full effect. But as you can see, you can hook them up in all these different colours. So grab some yarn and a hook and I'll show you what you need. So you're going to need your jar, so it doesn't really matter what size jar you have, it's whatever you can recycle. Just for reference, if you didn't need to know, I'm using a jar that is approximately 3 inches in diameter. That's about 7.5 centimetres. But as I say, just use whatever jars you have to hand. I'm going to be using up the rest of a ball of Shapier's Callista cotton in the shade Vivid Blue. Now this was originally a 50-gram ball. I've used approximately about a quarter of a ball of yarn in another project, so it's ideal to use up those oddments. I'm going to be using my Clover Crochet 4.5mm hook. I'm going to use a stitch marker as I'm working in the round. I just find it easier. I'm going to use a darning needle for my ends and a small pair of scissors. So if I just show you on this other example that I have, what I've done is I've worked up the bottom in 3 rounds of UK trebles, that's US doubles. Now obviously I'm going to explain how we work our way out, and then if you have a larger jar then you'll just need to keep going, but I will explain that after round 3. Now I've used trebles literally because I'm a little bit lazy and I wanted to get out as quickly as possible. Now this is the bottom of a jar, so nobody's going to see this at all. You could use UK doubles, that's US singles, if you wanted to make it slightly more solid on the bottom. Again, I will explain, if you just need to go out a little bit, it would pay to adjust your stitch that you're using, but the rules of increase will stay the same. So we're going to start here. So I'm going to start my centre by using the magic circle. If you don't like using the magic circle, then all you need to do is chain 4 and then join to make a loop. But I'm going to use the magic circle and I'll show you how I do mine. So my tail end is at the front, working yarn is at the back. I'm going to wrap my yarn around those 2 fingers, then it's coming across. I'm going to go under, grab that yarn, pull it through. I then take my fingers out and then making sure I have my working yarn, I'm going to chain 1. That just secures that magic circle. So then I take my end out. Now I know this is a magic circle because when I pull that tail end, this circle closes up. Now I want to continue and do another chain 2. So in effect here we have a chain 1, 2, 3. That's going to count as 1 treble. Now we're going to work in the centre of this magic ring here. I'm also going to be working over my tail. That's not essential, I just like to do that so I don't have to do so much sewing in at the end. So in this magic circle here, I'm going to be putting 11 UK trebles. So that's US doubles. So just to recap, it's yarn over, push through that centre, grab your yarn, pull it through. So I have 1, 2, 3 loops on my hook. Grab the yarn, pull through 2, grab the yarn, pull through 2. So again, we're going to yarn over, push through that centre, grab the yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn, pull through 2, grab the yarn, pull through 2. So remember, this chain 3 up is going to count as 1 treble, and then I've got another 2 here. So in effect, you're going to end up with 12 trebles, including your chain 3. So I need to put some more in. Pull through 2, pull through 2. So keep going round. You can see I've added 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll need to add another 7. And then I will meet you around here to join. Now just a tip, as you're going around, obviously you're getting quite a few stitches in that centre, so I would just go down to the bottom of your stitch and then just cinch them around to give yourself more space. So I've gone around, I've put in 11 trebles, and with this chain 3 up that comes to 12. So you can just check yourself, you can just count back, so just count these V's going back around. So I have, if I just take that out so you can see better, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then the top of this chain is 12. So then what we're going to do in the top of that 1, 2, chain 3 up, we're just going to slip stitch to join the round. So that's just pull the loop through and the one that's on your hook. So then you can just tighten up your centre by pulling on that tail. So we're now going to start round 2 and we are going to increase our stitches. Okay, so we're going to start by doing a chain 3 up. That's going to count as 1 treble. In the bottom of that same stitch, we're going to put another treble. So in effect, we now have 2 trebles coming out of the same stitch. Now at this time, what I do, where we have our chain 1, 2, 3 up, I put my stitch marker in the top of that chain so I know exactly where I'm going to join at the end of this round. Now you don't have to do that. I just like to keep track of what I'm doing, especially once we start using our doubles, that's US singles, it's quite handy to have a stitch marker. So in that next stitch to the left, we're going to put in 2 trebles. So that's 1 and 2. Again, in this next stitch to the left, we're going to put in 2 trebles. In this next stitch, we're going to put 2 trebles. And so on. So in each stitch going around, we're going to put 2 trebles. Each time we put 2 trebles in the top of these stitches, it's called an increase. So what you're going to do is in the top of all of these stitches, we're going to put 2 trebles. When you come around here, you're going to have 24 stitches. I've worked all the way around. I have my 24 stitches. I have just gone back and just double checked I have the correct number. Now what we need to do now is just slip stitch to join this round. So I'm just going to take that stitch marker out and do that slip stitch. So push through, grab the yarn, pull it through, and the one that is on your hook. So I'm going to do another round and then I will explain if you need to go out further how that works. Now obviously if you've got a tiny little jar, it might pay now just to have a quick measure up, but I can see I need to do another row out, or round out, sorry I should say. So again we're going to start with a chain 3 and that's going to count as 1 treble. Then what I'm going to do in that same stitch, I'm going to do another treble, Now in that top of that stitch to my left, I'm just going to put 1 treble. In the next stitch, I'm going to put 2, 1 and 2. In the next stitch, I'm going to put 1 treble. You can see how this works. In the next stitch, I'm going to put 2 trebles, so that's an increase. 1 and 2. Need to get more yarn. In the next stitch, we're going to put 1 treble. In the next stitch, we're going to increase, so that's 2, 1 and 2. So that's how you're going to work all the way around this round. In the next stitch, you're just going to put 1 treble. In the next stitch, you're going to increase, so that's 2. Next stitch 1, next stitch increase, and so on all the way around until you get to this one here. Now I apologise, I forgot to put my stitch marker in. So at the top of that 1, 2, 3, chain up. I'm going to put my little stitch marker in. Now I don't always use the stitch marker when I'm doing the trebles because it's quite obvious where our round finishes, but it's just a nice habit to get into, especially when we go on to using our UK doubles. Okay, so I've gone all the way around round 3. I have 36 stitches. Now I'm just going to join. At the top of that 1, 2, 3, chain up. I'm just going to join by using a slip stitch. So what I'm going to do now is just measure my work against the bottom of my jar. Now I'm quite happy that this is going to be a perfect size, so I want to start working up my jar, but obviously you may have a jar that's a different size. Now, if you want to carry on going out and do round 4, what you would do is start in exactly the same way by doing a chain 3 up, do another treble in that same stitch, so in effect you're increasing. What you would then do in the next 2 across, put 1 treble in each, then you increase. In the next 2 you put 1 treble, then you increase, and so on round. If you want to go out yet another round, the amount of single stitches that you put between those increases just increases 1 each time. So between the next round out you'd have 3, the next row out you'd have 4, and so on until you get out to the diameter that you want. Now also, just a thought, if you just literally need to go out just a tiny amount, why not then just follow those rules of increase, but yes, just use UK doubles, that's US singles, so a smaller stitch, so it's not so tall, so you just take your bottom out just a small amount. It's entirely up to what you think. I mean, it may take a little bit of trial and error, but you know, just go out to the diameter that you require. But I'm quite happy that my 3 rounds are going to fit this jar just nicely. So I'm not going to be increasing anymore at all. So after each round you can count. You should still have your 36 stitches until we start to decrease right at the very top of our jar. Now I'm going to be working in UK doubles for the next 3 rounds. So that's just as a reminder that it is US singles. So I'm going to chain 1 up. That's going to count as my first UK double. Then in the next stitch, I'm just going to start using my double. So just push through, grab the yarn, pull through. So I have 1, 2 loops on my hook. Grab that yarn, pull through 2. Now what I'm going to do in the top of that chain 1 up, I am going to put my stitch marker. It's right. When I use cotton, I find the strands sometimes separate. The next stitch, I'm just going to put 1 double, and then all I'm going to do all of the way around is in the top of those stitches, just put your UK double crochet. So it will pay when you get to the end. Include that chain 1 up. You should have 36 stitches. So I will join you around here to join. So I've gone all the way around, and counting this chain 1, I have 36 stitches. So now I'm just going to take my stitch marker out. I'm going to slip stitch in the top of that chain 1 up. Now I'm going to do another chain 1 up. That's going to count as 1 double, and then I'm going to put double crochets all the way around. Again, just for my reference, I'm going to pop a stitch marker in that chain 1 up. Oops, there we go. So for this round, we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to go all the way around, putting in our UK doubles. So I've been all the way around putting in those doubles, and you can see now that this is turning into a bit of a bowl effect. So where we're just putting 1 stitch in each stitch, it is now bringing up these sides nicely. Now what I'm going to do now is just literally do 1 more row of those UK doubles, and then what we're going to do is start to make this lantern design here. So again, I'm going to slip stitch to join. So just take that stitch marker out, do a slip stitch in the top of that chain 1, and then just do 1 more row. So chain 1 up, and then what we're going to do is a UK double in each of the stitches going all the way around. Remember to mark that chain 1 up with your stitch marker. Okay, so it's another round of UK doubles. I finished my 3rd round of those UK doubles, so you can just see, just for a recap, I had 3 rounds out using those UK trebles, then I've done 3 rows up using UK doubles. I've slip stitched to join, and I've just put a stitch marker in there just for the moment. What I'm going to do, because you can see that this is now coming up nicely, I'm going to weave in this tail end. Just grab your darning needle, thread that up. Now if you remember, you can push this the wrong way out to do this if it's easier. Now if you remember, I actually worked over my tail end when I first started with that magic circle. So this tail has already gone one way. I'm going to take it back the other way using those stitches. Just one way. As usual, my end is so long. And then I'm just going to go back on myself the other way. Now this end isn't really going to be seen. It's going to be inside the bottom of your jar, so don't worry too much. And then you're just going to snip off your yarn. Now this is before we start with the lantern design. It's a good opportunity just to double check that you are happy that that's fitting nice and snugly onto your jar. So I'm happy with that. And what I've done here with those 3 rows of doubles, in effect, I've made this bottom piece here. Now, if you have a much taller jar than the one that I'm using, you may want to add a few more rows around. It depends. I do know that some jars come with a bit of a ridge at the bottom, so you may want to take your rows of doubles up a little bit higher to cover that ridge up. It's entirely up to you, but what I'm now going to do is show you how we make this lantern design. What I've also done is gone back and counted. I still have, including that chain 1 up, 36 stitches. So we're going to start our design by chaining up 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the first chain 1, 2, 3 is going to count as a treble, and then the 4th chain is going to count as a chain 1. So we're going to start working around. We're going to miss this first stitch. In this 2nd stitch to your left, I'm going to put in 1 treble. Okay. Then I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to miss this stitch here. In the next stitch, I'm going to put my treble. Then I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to miss this next stitch. In this stitch here, I'm going to put a treble. So you can see this is what's going to make the gaps for your lantern. Again, I'm going to chain 1, miss this stitch. In the next stitch, I'm going to do a treble. So you're going to work all the way around, remembering to chain 1, miss this stitch. In the next stitch, you're going to put your treble. So you're going to work all the way around, miss a stitch, put a treble, miss a stitch, put a treble, and I will meet you around at the beginning. So I've gone all the way around and you can see that I'm making these lantern spaces. So we get back to where we originally started with a chain 4, and it looks slightly sort of wonky here, but our 4th chain will count as our chain 1 space. I've done my chain 1 to finish, and I'm going to put a slip stitch in that 1, 2, 3rd chain up. Now I'm going to try and get 2 loops on my hook, so when you go through, try and grab 2 loops. It just makes it look a little bit stronger. That join is part of our design, so you just want to make it look as strong as you can. Okay, so we've finished our first row of our spaces. So to start the next one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to chain 1, 2, 3 and 4, so that counts as a treble and a chain 1 space. What we're going to do is jump to this stitch here at the top of this treble from the round before, and we're going to do 1 treble. Chain 1. Ignore this stitch. We're going to jump to the top of this treble here and put in 1 treble. Chain 1. We're going to miss this stitch and jump over to the top of this treble here from the last round and put in our treble. Chain 1, miss this stitch, jump over to the top of this treble, put in 1 treble. So you can see our lantern is taking shape. So you're going to go all the way around this row, and then I'll meet you at the beginning. So again, I've come to the end of that round, and I'm going to slip stitch in that 1, 2, third chain up. Okay, now as we started, if you're unsure about this chain here, you can always again use your stitch marker just to mark that third chain up. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, I'm going to slip stitch, trying to get 2 strands on my hook, pull through, and the one that's on your hook. So you can see, if I just take my hook out for the moment, that this is how it's working up. Now, as you can see, this jar I did 1, 2, 3, 4 rows up of that sort of lantern effect. I think maybe this jar is the same size, so I'm going to take it 1 row further. So I'm going to go up for a total of 5 of these rounds. Now, obviously, if you've got a taller jar or a shorter jar, you can do how many rows that you want. We like to finish when we come in and decrease. This bit really needs to be done in the solid, nice and solid in those UK doubles. So I'm going to take mine 1 row up, because we don't actually decrease until where my finger is now. So that will look quite nice. So again, I'll just start you off and you can carry on for as many rows as you'd like. Remember to start with a chain 4 up, and that counts as 1 treble and your chain 1. Then you're going to do your treble over in the top of this stitch here. Okay, remember to chain 1 in between, move over to the top of this stitch, and you know now. So just keep going around, chaining 1, putting a treble in the tops of those trebles from the row or round before. Do as many or as few rows up as you'd like, and I will meet you when I've completed my 5 rounds. So as you can see, I've completed my 5 rows up. I've just popped my stitch marker in for the moment while I just try it on my jar, and I'm quite happy with that. As I say, you can go as far up as you need to. Now, if you have a look at the rim, what I'm going to do is just 1 row here of UK doubles. And then what we're going to do is we're going to decrease, because you can see my jar comes in quite drastically there, and then I'm literally just going to go up. So this part of the tutorial you're going to need to adjust for your own personal jar, but I'm going to show you how to decrease in just 1 moment. So I've taken my little sleeve off, and to start with, as I say, I'm just going to put a row around the top of those UK doubles. So we're going to chain 1 up. I'm going to find that chain stitch to the left. I'm going to put 1 double crochet in there. This next stitch to the left, I'm going to put 1 double crochet. I am now going to just mark that chain 1 up, because as we go around, we should end up with the same amount of stitches that we had down here. So I should have 36. Including that chain. Then where we did our chain 1, I'm just going to put 1 double crochet in there. Then in the top of that next stitch, I'm going to put 1. In that chain 1 space, I'm going to put 1. In the top of that stitch, I'm going to put 1. So I'm going to go all the way around, just putting those double crochets in, and I will meet you to join just here. So I've gone all the way around, and then I just did a slip stitch in that chain 1 up to join. Now, as I say, The top of my jar goes in quite drastically now and then just goes straight up. Now yours may go in slightly differently, but what I want to do on this next round, I want to decrease roughly, I would say, about 6 stitches overall. If you don't want to go in quite so drastically, maybe decrease a few less stitches. If you want to go in over a few rows coming up, it may be a gradual decrease. Then you could just decrease just a few rows at a time. It's just, this is the bit that it will be a little bit trial and error, but what I want to do, I want to decrease in total about 6 stitches overall. So what I'm going to do is show you how to decrease. I'm going to decrease every 5 stitches going all the way around. So that's going to lose me about 6 or 7 stitches. We'll have a little try on our jar once we've finished. So you can always adjust and just do this round again. It wouldn't take too long. So what I'm going to do that chain 1 up, pop my little stitch marker in there so I know where I'm going to join. Okay, and I'm going to just literally do my double crochets for the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now on my 5th stitch I'm actually going to do a decrease. So this is how I do my decrease. So I'm going to decrease over the next couple of stitches. I'm just going to be using the front loops of these next 2 stitches. So I'm going to put my hook through the front loop of that first stitch and the front loop of the next stitch. Grab my yarn, pull through both loops, so just be a little careful if you're using cotton. So I've got my 2 loops on my hook. Grab the yarn and then finish that stitch off as usual. So you've in effect crocheted 2 stitches together. Now I'm going to put double crochets in the next 4 stitches around. So in the 5th stitch around, I'll start another decrease. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. In the next stitch, we're going to decrease again. So again, I'm just putting my hook through the front loop of that next stitch and the front loop of the stitch next to it. Grab the yarn, pull through both of those loops, grab the yarn, pull through. So you're finishing the stitch off as you normally do. So I'm going to do that all the way around, and then what I'm going to do is just pop this on my jar and see if I've decreased enough. So again, I've just gone and popped this on my jar just to check, so I'm quite happy. So you can see it's fitting quite snugly all the way around. So I just did a decrease every 5th stitch. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put another round of these double crochet. That should take me up to the top of the jar just nicely. What I want to do though is just make sure it's super snug. So I'm most probably just going to decrease a couple more times. So just space them out. If I show you here, this is where I'm going to start. I'll most probably decrease about here and just decrease about here. So you don't need to be very, so accurate, just sort of eyeball it. So I'll decrease after that's about 8 stitches, and then I'll carry on round here, say 8, 9, 10 stitches around. I'll decrease one more time. And then obviously when I put this cozy on the jar, it'll be nice and snug at the top. So I'm just going to carry on and do another row of those double crochet. So I've gone all the way around. I've just done my slip stitch. I have just once again tried this on my jar. I'm more than happy that it fits just nicely. So I'm ready to stop. So I'm just going to chain 1, snip my yarn, and then pull your tail through and just cinch that down as best that you can. So we need to weave in our end. So all I'm going to do is just thread up my darning needle. I'm going to use the stitch just to the left. I'm just going to go down the middle and then pull that down so the knot sort of goes down into the body. Turn my work over so I'm working on the inside, and then I'm just going to use some of these stitches here just to hide that tail. Now, as we've knotted it off, all you're doing is hiding this end. And to be honest, I mean, this is on the inside, so it doesn't have to be overly neat. Nobody is going to see it. So I'm just going to up and down a couple of times. Okay, and then I'm going to snip that tail off. Make sure you don't snip your work. Then I'm just going to pop this on my jar. So there you go, your finished lantern. So what I tend to do is I use these little battery powered tea lights. Now what I'm also going to do, I'm going to take a picture when it's dark later on today so you can see the full effect. You can obviously use your own candles or tea lights, but just be aware, you know this, do not leave a candle unattended at all wherever you are. So I tend to, just for safety purposes, use these battery powered ones. So you can just pop him in there and you can see already that light shining through these squares here. But as I say, I'm going to take a picture when it gets nice and dark later, and you can see. If you enjoyed this tutorial, then please do give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below, let us know how you got on with yours, and I will see you here next time.